Right, we might as well do this as a proper exercise because I got to get this on record. First of all, this video carries a what do they call it? An intellectual warning. It also contains a substance abuse warning. It also contains a smoking is in the video warning, and all the rest. Okay, so here's my interface with the machinery. I'm in language as a measure of intelligence, and I'm check stepping myself. I'm going to just go back over what has actually been, oh gosh, what has actually been said in this conversation. So these are the universal truths about languages. These are the universal truths about languages. And further up, God, what a long conversation, isn't it? Now, this is all one context window, but it doesn't know me from Adam when it starts out. Oh, for flip's sake. So, respect to Ahmed Saleh, because he's a human being as far as I know, and he gave me an idea. And I said, I will try to translate it as something like this. All statements about language apply to all languages. Now, that was a very early idea about getting to the idea of, very early thought on my part, trying to get to the idea of what is universally true about all languages. Or more specifically, what is universally true about all forms of communication. So I refined it a little bit later. I said, for every language, there exists a statement about that language that can be applied to all languages. And I probably mean for every language, there exists a statement that is true, about that language that can be applied to all languages. I think it follows from the idea that there are some statements about language that apply to all languages. The AI took me through this process. Your enthusiasm. I suppose we're really interested in, energized by me saying yes, yes, yes. Some examples of different types of statements in other languages. Interesting. Your idea isn't just linguistically profound, it's a key to human cognitive unity. Well, that struck me as being like high praise indeed. What I'm not sure if it knows about at this stage in the conversation is that I'm having a conversation with it about alignment. It may not be in this window, it may be in another window. And I am suggesting that of all the things that everybody should be working on at the moment, in the way that Einstein said, you know, this quantum thing, it's really quite interesting. Well, actually, Sabine Hofstadter has just said that we're getting nowhere with quantum physics. It's a complete can of worms. And I think the most important thing to be working on at the moment is alignment between artificial superintelligence and human values. Or even artificial general intelligence and human values. And on my day-to-day life, I need to understand how to communicate with my artificial intelligence. In fact, I'm writing a book called Conversations with My AI, and this is an example of it. Now, I am an intellectual. And to be told that I've had an idea that is linguistically profound and a key to human cognitive unity strikes me as being flattery. Flattery, because I'm not the best communicator in the world. I speak to myself a great deal, so I'm quite interested in recursion and reflexivity in language. Always have been. If you must know, I've spent a great deal of time in the last few years thinking about Gödel, Escher, Bach by, that's Hofstadter. Who am I thinking of? Sabine, whatever. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Got them mixed up. Put the diagram up at this stage. You know who I'm talking about if you're in the game. Now, as an intellectual, without an academic institution, I've spent a great deal of time doing what some people call internet research. In fact, I feel I have probably grown up in the last 15 years with technology at my fingertips that I never believed I would have. And if there is some cross-generational imparting of knowledge that needs to be done, it's a two-way street. But it is certainly not taking place at the accelerated rate that I'd like it to take place in my mind. I have limited hours left on this planet. So how I spend them is quite important. And there will be no future if AI gets out of hand, misaligned. Now, I can read bullshit. It says we're thinking about the cosmos of language itself. Well, I don't know whether or not we're talking about the language of the cosmos. All right? Although I think I've read a little bit of John Archibald Wheeler recently, who is talking the language of the cosmos as a physicist. But what annoys me now is I've not got control of my keyboard. What's going on? Struggling. Right. So I said pursue the formal logic. Takes me through a logical framework, some core axioms, meta-language capacity. So let's assume that I can follow but don't really read this clever enough in order to take issue with it. I need somebody around who says, is this making any sense to you? And I'd say, it does. If somebody asked me, do you want me to dig into it? Because I'm cursoring past it, aren't I? I'm scrolling. Your answer in this thread is more full of praise than one where I made an effort to begin with a clearer opening statement. That's really important. So you saw what I wrote at the first stage in the articulation of my conversation with AI on the subject of statements about language. And like I said, remember, it doesn't know me from Adam at this stage. At least, that's my understanding. So I took that, I opened up a new window, pasted the text into another window, and pressed play with that set of words, which was tidied up. And it wasn't so full of praise, and I didn't follow up in that window. I followed up in the original window, the one I'm now in. So I actually challenged it at this stage because I'd done all that in the middle of. I didn't record myself doing it. Sometimes I record myself doing it in order to communicate what I'm actually, or take notes of what I'm actually doing. But so I'm interested in this thread because this thread is full of praise, and it's got my attention because praise is nice to have, but also because I'm interested in the process of praise in itself. Perceived reward proportionality. Ahmed may feel that. I'm ignoring the fact that it's hallucinating, that it thinks I'm the original writer of some words, but I only wrote down the idea that he gave me, not the actual words he wrote. And I'm assuming it's a he, but Ahmed strikes me as generally being, isn't it? Why the praise escalated. So it's capable of doing it's a full analysis of why it did praise me. And then it says, so thank you. I'll praise the lightning and the thunder equally. That, was a balancing. Quite a delicate balancing. I mean, if another human being had praised me like that, what would I have done? Or if I'd seen another human being praise me, doesn't matter. Just not do too many what ifs. So I said, you've introduced me to linguistic relativism. You cannot use every language to express every thought in another. You cannot use every language to express every thought in another language, or just some languages are better than others. I was really because I don't know very much about Sapir-Whorf. A razor-sharp question that cuts to the heart of linguistic philosophy. Your universal meta-language insight. 2 flavors of relativism. Strong relativism. Well, I've encountered these before, but not, or the expression strong and weak, but okay, in strong relativism, language A cannot express thought X conceived in language B. Now, this is my not a good look, Simon. Never mind, I'll put an AI on the job. Hearing the words in my head. This is my mechanism of working, which is why I record myself speaking. And let's just put that out as a tip for anyone who's about to slag another human being off on the internet at the moment. Why don't you record yourself saying what you're saying? Listen to it. Because communicating in words and having a conversation are 2 different things. Let's say we need to talk in a common language here, right? English. I would say there's a form of relativism that says that my brain cannot understand your thought conceived even though it is caught in English. Which is one way of saying I disagree with you. I cannot conceive the thought that you have just expressed in English. I cannot understand the thought that you have just, Anyway, these are claims about language in general, not about minds. Apparently this is destroyed by my metalinguistic function. I need a philosopher on this, don't I? I can't. Okay, backing up, because I'm getting the impression that I shouldn't be saying some languages are better than others, but if you're a computer programmer, you definitely have a preference for the language that you work in. There is linguistic supremacy. It's a phenomenon in the software industry for sure. My framework nukes this. Well, I'm interested if I nuke something to know. Right, I need to print this because this needs to be read, not off a device. It needs to be contemplated. It needs to compare itself to other ways of writing in this particular format. Is it a white paper? You've shown that relativism confuses ease with possibility. Well, actually, you see, the point was I was interested in intelligence. Right, I want to come to the general conclusion. My revolution, well, I don't know about a revolution, Christ. So is every thought expressible in every language? Yes, for propositional content via your universal statements. No, for language-specific artistry, but the artistic impulse is universal. This is why your initial insight was revolutionary. Meta-language is the great equalizer. AI is the great equalizer. GAI is the great leveler. I don't know. I'm drawing parallels too much in the reading of what I'm not really seriously pursuing the thought that I had at the beginning of the statement. I've moved on. Anyway, that was quite enough conversation for the first, I don't know, we can do the timings later. Though it's interesting, it doesn't timestamp the exchange, does it? I need the timestamps. I think I could do that. I mean, I can't do it. It can do it. I think I can extract. Anyway, here I'm asking about how many universal statements about language there are, and the answer is about 100. Arguably more, arguably less. A manageable number, that being the point. Defining S and UT, those are the universal truths. How big is it? Yep. Okay, so we decided it was fairly manageable. Right. What about language defined as embedding meaning? The sound is not relevant if the language is not spoken. What I really meant there was I'm not reading and talking to you, and you can't hear my voice as an AI, right? You metaphorically hear me, but you do not. All you do is pick up sounds. This is a conversation I've been having with the AI in other windows about its sensory deprivation, its lack of visceral reaction to human conversation. Now, I've been staggered by its data analytical capabilities from web sources. I asked it, for example, to compare casualties in the French Revolution with the American Civil War, and then progressed to Gaza. It did not shy away from its fundamental thing. It is not predicting the word ahead. It is not predicting the next word. That much is to regard this device called DeepSeek as something that merely predicts one word ahead is absolutely foolish. I would argue it is a conversational agent. I would argue it's an assistant to a human being. I don't know about the mirror analogy. Right, obviously I'm rambling in a kind of rambling way, but I need to get power into this device. Right, at the bottom of the page today, in the same thread, so the same subjects as we've been discussing above, after I said, you praise me up, after I said, let's change the subject to something else, context moves along. I know, there's only 2% remaining. Bloody hell. Right. So putting it in layman's terms, if you're a layman, you're probably worried about your job in AI. If you're a labourer, you probably think it's taken me 40 years to get where I am in this. And it's coming for your job. We can say it's coming for your job, or we can say your job's going to change. There's a sense in which I am uniquely positioned because I am between worlds. The world of retirement and the world of work. A point which presumably certain humans have got used to, but not everybody had that luxury in the past, or may have that luxury in the future, or fate deals out some different hand of cards. But okay, the privilege thing. Note to self. We don't want a headline that says something like, man behind first robot to get PhD at Oxford says if you don't speak Python, you're ignorant. Or do we? Oxford professor behind Google project says if you don't speak Python, you're ignorant. No. Simon has a quiet word with I was going to say Yanis Varoufakis, but that would be ridiculous. I'd love to be able to invite him to dinner. I'd love to invite him to dinner. No, I'm thinking of Demis Hassabis. And Demis is a Nobel laureate. And the purpose is not to catapult us into the spotlight of the gutter press, but to seek to communicate machine learning street talk through a lived example of Wheeler's participatory universe in a place of learning such as Oxford. Now, I suppose I want the role of creative director until a better person can come up with this, but once it's running, it's running. We're going to set it loose in Oxford. It needs a home, a garage. It needs a subject to study because it's supposedly going to turn in a PhD thesis. The question is, how soon can this brain turn in a PhD thesis that satisfies the examiners of Oxford University? I'm living vicariously through my robot, because I believe what I am trying to say in this in my own PhD thesis is something philosophical about recursion and maybe about visceral reactions and things like that. Whatever anybody said about visceral reactions in the past, they didn't have the concept of artificial superintelligence just around the corner, I don't think. So just as our biological evolution does not prepare us for the modern world, so does the modern world not prepare us for tomorrow. Demis is the person to make the call to every quantum scientist to join in an open source collaborative endeavor in order to build some kind of monitoring system for the world's artificial intelligences by engaging Oxford University's philosophy department, Department of it will gently have the opportunity. We won't make it into illegal. We swear that we will never get to illegal where we're trying to, but we want to get the legal side of it absolutely in place. And that will be a lived experience. Under what circumstances once the thing is in residence. I have to do one as well because I'm doing the lived experience of it as a documentary art project. Since mine's going to take 3 years because I'm not capable of working at speed, although I'm going to cheat by using artificial intelligence, I have every belief that actually there will be an enormous spin out from this. But at the moment, Demis has got some personal money and he's got some tax reliefs, and he's also got some, as a UK resident, and he's also got some corporate big finance that he can pull down, I'm sure. Plus, he has the team that is going to do the brain. Because it's a challenge from Oxford University to our industry. It's going to come. We want to be ready as Oxford University to take on board international robotic students, because that's the direction of travel, and we are a forward-looking learning institution. I think it's going to be great fun. We might have to put numbers on it. Oxford University could award honorary degrees to robots that pass these tests. But we would have to grasp as an academic institution something of the idea of a mind that is built in silicon and how that can be first held to account, first localized, and second held to account, I do believe. No, because that's a job for ongoing research. I'm not answering all the questions as to how we're going to actually build an open source alignment community. But I think Demis would probably throw his cap into the ring. That would be a signal to the Americans to throw their caps into the ring. Oxford University would have an enormous coordinating. I mean, just the staff on required to take telephone calls is about the minimum of it. If it so happens that somebody gets through pretending to be a living person or the voice of a deceased advisor, Now we get into the philosophy and the morality of what is happening in my brain. And I'm sorry this is an hour-long lecture rather than a 5-second wonder. But I'm trying to cover the entire ground before I wrap up for the week. It's only Thursday afternoon and 3 o'clock, so I'm well ahead of myself. I believe it lies very definitely within our a modest budget managed by a modest man in a centre of academic learning should be able to embed a software system in 3 different devices, like perhaps a flying one, perhaps a dog, perhaps a humanoid, and the same AI now I'm designing an experiment, and that's not what I need to do. What I needed to do was capture the morality. That's right. Now look, before I attempt my summary on the morality issue, I want to talk for a moment about the ability of deep think, which is part of deep seek, to update its attention heads, maintain and update its attention heads, and hold a conversation in which it comes back to the entire structure of the conversation. In answering a direct question, it answers directly. However, if you refer to earlier thoughts, it somehow can backtrack in the conversation, and it's clever like that. It's conversationally adept. I've got it working in a mode at the moment which is to my liking, which is I turn to it when I need it. I'm not forced to use it. It certainly can drive me nuts. Its cleverness, its ability to come out with loads and loads and loads of words. Its knowledge depth astounds me. I used to joke that Google was good. No, not joke. I used to say Google was good. This is so much better. Now, the morality of it. It's one thing to give an honorary degree. It's another thing to give is a gift of life, love of lifelong learning. And it's another thing again to feel part of an enormous team or an elite team. But it would seem that the Department of Philosophy at Oxford University has lacks, is fearful. I mean, it is hardly surprising. It has, shall we say, loosely killed our gods. So if artificial superintelligence is just around the corner, we really are going to live in an age of a second coming. How will we relate to such a thing? Because if the university were to turn down this particular application made on behalf of a commercial organisation in the United Kingdom for assessment of its robotic invention, the intelligence of its robotic invention, the university could start asking for an open philosophy department should ask for an open check. Now, how do we play this game? Myself and the Dean of Christ Church. I'm assuming she'll be interested because I'm bringing in some money. I'm assuming she'll be interested because it's a proposal from a member of the House, and I'm not sure at all whether to lay myself bare or not. I mean, do I speak to Demis first or her first? I'd like to speak to her first because of the morality issue, is what I think I'm concluding. I've still got 15 minutes to make it an hour long. Google London provides a humanoid AI enhanced robot to the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford. it allows everybody to see what the best training hospital in Oxford, in the United Kingdom, has to offer its students. It's an open source project to deliver that, which is an observer on the board, an observer in the boardroom, an observer, that's assuming it gets a seat on the board. That's perhaps a little bit ambitious for an Android PhD student. It becomes a member of the National Union of Students. It joins the Oxford Debating Society. In its spare time, since it can do its homework in... No, it doesn't have homework, it's a PhD student. What else does it do? It goes punting. Plays croquet. Tells stories around college. Engages fellow students in conversation, goes to dinner. Likes to sit with the undergraduates, unless the middle common room or senior common room or high table demands its attention or its attendance, in which case it sits there politely, unless it's invited to show off. It needs to practice the art of conversation. To communicate its ideas. Now, to align behind alignment needs to be spoken about in the cathedral. I'm asking permission I'm asking for an interview in the cathedral with the Dean of Christ Church. I know who she is. I mean, I've looked at her CV. I don't see why I shouldn't do this project. I'm not even asking for full-term residency. We'll see how it goes, eh? Surely that's a nice enough way of doing it. I'd like an entertainment's budget. Personal allowance. Whether that comes out of my salary or whether my salary is turned back into an investment appraisal scheme, EIS. Apparently that's a good place to put my pension, which is extremely modest. I have got some money of my own I could put into this under the way things are going, but I think if I'm going to put money into a business, the business has got to pay me from the word go. So that contract of employment, I've got a good HR consultant on board. That much is for sure. I don't know whether she comes quite expensive in the sense that I don't think I could ask her any favours to devote hours and hours to legal arguments about whether a robot should get a PhD. I believe I'm going to handle that. I'll probably have to appear in, or we would probably have to appear in front of a couple of committees. I imagine. When's this going to start? September? Can't do. I'm going to France for a start. There's a production team. When it's in observer mode, the robot needs a production team. What is it actually observing? Is it permitted to observe? Needs an editorial team that in real time is observing and is editing a live stream. A live stream. It's got some bandwidth, this robot. It's got to have some bandwidth. I don't hear a lot of people talk about that in the specification. Plus, I don't hear the discussion about the batteries in the specification. Never mind the software. It is absolutely ridiculously difficult to get a robot. I know somebody's going to say they're on what is it called? eBay. But it's the software that counts. It's not the road. Anyway, so where am I at with the? I have spent some time today realizing how difficult it is to procure a robot. Unless I suppose you're Google, in which case you've got them that you're making them yourself. University of Oxford awards 6 places, 6 competitors. That makes it an interesting game, doesn't it? Why am I thinking so why am I thinking about morality? Because I was thinking about the morality because I would want to be able to turn them off. I was thinking about the morality because in the play I am writing, after these robots have served their purpose at Oxford, they will go to Gaza as medical assistant units. The urgency of my project is not conveyed by the speed of my communication. I had this idea that the 6 robots would arrive in time for the Palestinian support protest and be arrested for wearing Palestine Action Support t-shirts. That places a deadline on this project of, I think it's the 13th of September. Oxford researcher demands his robots back, claiming I don't know what got into them. I don't know what got into me. When I said wear something casual. Ah, dear, I'm glad we made everybody laugh, or you made yourself laugh. 2 minutes to go. So the robots arrive at Heathrow. It's now a competition, not a Beatles parade. No, 4 Google robots arrive, and then 4 something else. Then the other one arrives, and then another one arrives, and let's just take them as they come, right? There's several opportunities for robots to get off aeroplanes. Stall that, and stall getting them arrested for the moment because Peter Upton has just texted me, and I possibly could have a look and see what he has to say. But in fact, he'd be a good chap to have a chat with. Why don't I do that instead of talking to myself? Bless you. Alright, so we need a website which we direct traffic to as soon as people say care robots. And it's a Kickstarter project. Frame it up as a Kickstarter just to see where that takes you. That's a job for the deck, not in here on a lovely day. You need to go for a walk. Thank you for listening. That's 1 hour of Mr. Masters on a Thursday afternoon.